Welcome to the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast, the show where aspiring and experienced matchmakers come to sharpen their skills, grow their businesses, and elevate the matchmaking industry. Your host is Arlene Washburn, an award-winning ethical matchmaking advocate, mentor, and industry innovator. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast, everyone. I'm alive. I'm your host, Arlene Washburn. And today I have a special guest who is not only a powerhouse in the coaching and media world, but someone who's had actually a personal impact in my journey. I'm thrilled to welcome Frankie Picasso. She's known as the unstoppable Frankie Picasso, and for good reason. She's an author, master coach, socialpreneur, a globally syndicated radio show host, and the founder of the Good Radio Network. Her work is all about promoting positive, purpose-driven change in the world. In fact, thanks to Frankie, I had the opportunity to become one of the Ivy League investors at the G Woman Media, a network dedicated to amplifying women's voices and empowering women and to create meaningful impact. And that's the kind of media that matters to me. And so I'm very proud to be a part of it. Frankie, thank you for coming on the show and welcome.
Thank you, Arlene. And I'm really, really glad that you're here and having this show because you had a whack of an accident.
Yeah, it's been a rough one. I'm still in a lot of pain, but for everybody who's been asking, including you, Frankie, a second ago, my husband and I decided to get a couple of e-bikes, and we were in the garage and we're looking at the bikes and they're beautiful. We're like, let's take it for a quick ride. We were going to just go right down to the end of the street and back, I thought. So anyway, I didn't have a helmet on. Please, people, put on your helmet, right? But I kept, he kept going. So I followed along, and it was such a beautiful night and everything was great until we hit the summit that all of a sudden I found myself going downhill. He managed to get down at like 35 miles an hour. I only remember trying to stop. I must have done something wrong because I blanked out. I was medevaced. He thought I was dead. I had blood all over the place. I have stitches underneath here you can't see. I tried to blow dry my hair today. I couldn't even do it. Stitches, broken ribs, fractured thumb, broken teeth. I mean, it was a nightmare. I was medevaced to the hospital. I was there for a few days. And in fact, I was excited to be on your show and ended up having to cancel. So I'm glad you're here. And so I'm feeling much better, but still in a little bit of pain, a little bit of discomfort. But I'm just glad to be back to work because, I hate just being moping around and laying in bed.
That's the perfect attitude to have, too.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm so sorry to hear that. And because I said to my husband, he goes, how did it happen? I go, I don't know. But when I took the motorcycle course many years ago, a lot of the people, like as soon as they didn't expect that thrust and the bike got away from them and they fell down. And so I thought, well, maybe that's what happened to you. I wasn't sure. But I fall off my bike all the time. He goes, well, you know how she fell off the bike? You're always falling off your bike. I go, I fell off on gravel. I'm not falling off on an e-bike.
And it was a regular bike. It's an e-bike. And people get confused because even I thought that an e-bike will just go. It's a power assist. So it's not like it's, you're still pedaling. The problem was going downhill and not, I don't know what happened. I just didn't realize, and everybody's like, did you try to brake with the left or, with the back brake? And I'm like, I don't even know what the hell I was thinking. Whatever it was for a split second and then I was out. Yeah. Thank God our brains protect us that way because I don't remember anything. I can't even remember what day this happened.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank goodness you're here. I'm really happy about that.
Thank you.
Did your phone call? You know what? Not the other day, but about a month ago, I took a really bad fall coming out of my kitchen into my living room. And I went, bam. And I really thought I'd broken my teeth because my jaw, I was bleeding on the ground. And my phone said, my iWatch said, we detected that you had a fall. We'll call 911 for you. And I went, what? I didn't know I did that.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, crazy.
That is the future of healthcare.
And I was like, stop it. I don't want them to call an ambulance.
Yeah. I know. It's like my 93-year-old mom. Well, she'll soon be 93. I had bought, she's very vain and she didn't want one of those things that you press for help. So I got one that was a beautiful necklace, but it was hooked up to, I had to get a smartphone. It was like a major investment. she wouldn't wear it. She didn't want to press it because she didn't want to bother people and all this. I'm like, Mom, if I'm not here, well, now she lives with me, but if if I'm
Yeah.
not here, you need to press this thing because it would like immediately call 911 and all the people involved. Anyway, but let's talk about you because you are unstoppable, a powerhouse, and I want to hear about your history. And then I really want to get into the fact that you've been in radio and media and all that. And this podcast was originally geared towards helping matchmakers, do business and grow and everything else, and also they're the people who work with them. And I know a lot of matchmakers have been starting their own podcasts and stuff, and you have so much experience in this area. So first, I want to hear your transformation.
You want to hear I became unstoppable? You're not going to want to hear, oh, I became unstoppable.
Yes, please tell me about you, Frankie. You're amazing.
Okay. Well, this story is like a once upon a time story. I was riding my motorcycle and I was leading a ride. I belonged to 3 motorcycle clubs. I was leading a ride on a beautiful evening. It was a country highway and a car ran a stop sign and T-boned me. I went flying off my bike. I don't remember that part too much, like you, but I remember laying on the side of the road and it felt like my leg had been disconnected from my body. And people were standing around. The police came. They couldn't do anything. Fire department came. They didn't do anything. Finally, like hours, it seemed like hours later, the ambulance came. They took me to the first hospital. The first hospital, they gave me some kind of a drug that put me out for like 2 minutes where they pulled on my leg. I'd actually broken both femurs, hip, pelvis. Over 60% of my body had been broken, and it was catastrophic. So I ended up at the second trauma hospital where I stayed for about 3 months. And then I ended up for 6 months in total, I was in the hospital. While I was in the hospital, I divorced my husband, my then husband. I was a drummer in a blues band. The band came and picked up their stuff. I was 8 days from going to Shanghai with the Canadian national dragon boat team. Didn't get to do that. And when I came home, my dog died, my mother died, and the rod in my right femur broke. That was year 1. Okay. And while I was in the hospital, in rehab hospital, I had lawyers and everything. I said, I can't just sit here and vegetate. I don't have a job anymore. My job got reorganized. I need to do something. So I started to teach. I started taking coaching classes at the International Coach Academy. I took absolutely everything they had. And when I graduated from everything, they said, why don't you teach? So I started teaching at the International Coach Academy. And somebody had said to me something about your accident or being in pain. And I said, oh man, I'm in pain all the time. And they go, but you don't sound like you're in pain. I go, well, I get that from my dad. Because if you ask my dad, how are you? I'm fantastic. He's always fantastic, whether he's in pain or not. And that was me. I did the same thing. I'm not a martyr, but I don't want to be that person that sits there, oh my God, I'm in pain all the time. Nobody cares. After a while, people don't care. Like, I care about you right now, for sure. But later on, if that's all you're going to talk about. So that person has said to me, you're unstoppable. And I thought, you know what? As a mantra, that's a pretty good mantra to have because, as you know, our subconscious takes in what we say to ourselves. And so if I kept saying to myself, I'm unstoppable, then I would be unstoppable. And I did it for years and years. And I told this story for a long, long time. And then I stopped telling this story because it became who I was. And I didn't want that to be who I was anymore. I'm not my accident. I'm more than that. And I got back more than I lost in some way. I got remarried. I mean, it's like a country song going backwards again. I got the dog, I got the husband, I got back to playing my drum. Like everything came back pretty much. But I recreated that. I created a new job for myself and I created different things for myself. So that's how I became unstoppable. Have I had a million jobs? Yes. I was, actually, I was working just before the accident. I had the first female kickboxing promoter in the world. I was promoting a 12-time champion to put on the world championships. And they really were world championships. And after that, I got a call from Solicitor General and said, could you come and do a function for us? And I'm like, yeah, but how did you get my name? And they go, we don't know. It was so bizarre. They did not know. So I went in there and I did a 7-year stint, which was perfect because my kids needed braces. They had that kind of stuff. They had stuff that as an entrepreneur you don't have, healthcare and all of that good stuff. And it was amazing. And I worked there till I had my accident as a special advisor for spirit. You don't get that kind of job in the government. It was entrepreneurial because I said, don't clock watch me. I don't do that. Like, I'll come in and I'll do what you need. Tell me the deliverables, what day you want it, and it'll all be magically on your desk. But I'm not a 9-to-5 person.
Yeah.
And they agreed to it.
Everything you say so resonates with me. I loved you from day one when
Thank you.
you reached out to me. We had a conversation and you told me about this new initiative and I'm like, I'm in, whatever. Yes. And it was such a wonderful experience. And then I got on the G Spot, which was such a cool name for a show.
Yeah.
And so many amazing women that are a part of that.
They are.
Can you tell the audience a little bit about that? Because I really haven't had a chance to dive in. I know we have our first meetings coming up, but I know that the radio station's up and running. There's a magazine and all that. Can we talk a little bit about?
Sure, I'd love to.
Yeah.
So G Woman Media, you can go to gwomanmedia.com to look at the website, which I think is absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex designed it. Alex is our founder. There's 4 co-founders, so there's 5 partners altogether. We had been in media, all of us, for a long time in different aspects of media, from music to TV to acting to radio and all of that. We decided, and we looked at the marketplace and we said, there's no women-owned media company. Oprah has a woman media-owned company, but it's not global. Right. And it's not digital. And it doesn't invite every woman to be a part of it. And so we wanted every woman to be a part of our media company, to amplify their voices, to tell their stories, to help them build worth and wealth. Part of the Ivy League was that. And part of being on a podcast is that too, because with advertisers and sponsors, we get to share the load, share the wealth, and share the stories, and share everybody's in there to help this media company globally make it, basically, because we're all media partners. We all have a little piece of the pie, which is very exciting. I don't think anybody has ever done that.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that the work that you do is very purpose driven. And I like to think that that's my hope in all the work that I do is to be very purpose driven and to give back and to do something to help others. And part of the reason I wanted to get into helping other practitioners that are in the industry of matchmaking is really to help this loneliness epidemic that I've been talking about since, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago, until finally now it's become a topic of conversation. But you can go back to my social media and find posts on that. And so I love that that's your approach as well. It's very purpose driven. There are a lot of people that want to go into podcasting or doing a show and stuff. And even for me, I thought about it for like 5 years. And I remember my friend Maria Gatides, she's blown up and she's worked her butt off to get there, and she's wonderful. She had a show and she would always say, just do it, Arlene, just go ahead. And I just kept holding off. And I'm curious, what would you tell anyone who's really trying to do this type of work? What's the mind shift and what's the thinking that they need to really go into podcasting or live streaming or whatever it is that they're doing?
I think a lot of people think it's really easy to do. And in some ways it is easy to do. It really is. Just start, have an idea, have a purpose for your show, go out and find guests and do it. But for most people, they want to take the lazy way out. And the lazy way out is ask your guests to send their questions and their answers, and then you just ask those questions. And I think that has to be the most boring thing that you could possibly do, because every time that person gets on a show and somebody asks them to do that, they're going to have the same questions, the same answers. And why would anybody come and listen and help grow a station? The way you grow a station is to invite a guest on. They tell other people, oh, I'm going to be on the radio, come and listen. And when they fall in love with the host, then those people will stick around maybe for another show and another show to listen to other guests that you have. That's how you grow. But when you ask the person to give you their questions and don't read their books, and don't, like, all these books behind me are all interviews I've had. I've read every single book. And what was fantastic about it and the reviews and that I got from the guests was, nobody's ever read my book like you did. you were able to lead me through the interview. So it's way more interesting for them because they're asked questions that they've never been asked before. I knew things that they didn't think I knew about them because I investigated them like a journalist, because I was a journalist. That was my, my background. That's what makes it exciting for the listener, and it makes it exciting for, the host themselves. And like you, I didn't give you any questions. You're just, hey, Frankie, what's this? What's the answer to that? That's better. Like, I mean, I might be going, but at the same time, people are hearing things that maybe I never said before.
Them. And I want it to be a genuine conversation. I don't want it to be scripted. And sometimes it does frustrate people where they're coming on the show and we have a basic idea of what the conversation is going to be about, but
Yeah.
I don't get into any of that because I let it flow. Wherever we end up, that's fine. I mean, our format is we put out a description for the social media for the live stream, and then it goes to podcast the following week. The following week, it has a totally different description because our conversation went in a different direction.
Yeah. And that's how it should be. I think it should be that way in some ways, that, you're listening and you're asking a question that the person at home wants to ask. Oh, I wish you would ask that. And then you asked it because you were listening. You weren't going, oh, question number 9. Okay, let me ask that now. There was no interaction between the two questions. There was no bridge. It's just number 8, number 9, number 10. So yeah, that's the way I think you're doing it exactly the right way.
Oh, good. I'm so happy
in my book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Way more exciting and interesting.
Your approval means a lot to me.
I'll give you a badge after. Yeah.
It's so funny. We ride motorcycles too. So now I'm like, I don't know if I want to get on a motorcycle again. But no, I am. I got my helmet now, which really was the intention from the get-go. I'm usually fairly careful about things. But we're now getting ready to go on vacation, and we're going to France. And my husband bought tickets. So we have this crazy vacation because we usually need a vacation from the vacation, right? So we're going to Paris. And now I'm hearing that, like in Spain and some places in Europe, they're like spraying the tourists because they don't want them there in the summer. And I'm like, great, right when we decide to go. But we're doing Paris, and then we're getting on a yacht for a week, kind of going through the canals.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and then we're going to Chamonix.
Nice.
And my husband is jumping off of the French Alps to go hand gliding. And he is so gung-ho about this that he already bought his tickets like months ago. Because he's like, I'm not backing out of this. And he was trying to convince me to do it. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm glad I didn't screw up our vacation. But yeah, so
he's an extreme athlete, your husband? He's just like into everything that...
He was before me. I mean, my husband, he went to a school. It's called Blair Academy. It's like an Ivy League high school. It's like, I don't know, $75,000 a year to go to high school there. And he's so low key. Like, my husband's the kind of guy that you got to like peel back the layers little by little. He's not braggadocious or self-promoting. And I didn't find out until years after being married to him. We were at one of the reunions, and the guy is talking about, the athlete of the year and this whole thing, and which is a huge deal over there because they compete big time. My husband was the athlete of the year at Blair. There's like a huge mural with him on it, I mean, and he's so funny. He doesn't even, he doesn't talk about those things. He's super like humble and low key. I brag about him all the time.
But he's going to jump off the Alps.
Yeah, he's jumping off. This man is crazy. I mean, you know what he did when he was younger? In April, somebody dared him to jump off this bridge near where we live now into this river. And his idea was, let me put on a few more sweaters because it might get cold.
Oh my God. Young
teenager jumped into the river and started to sink because he had so much stuff on. And then my husband's wild, but yeah, I'll just have to up the insurance for the trip.
I mean, I'm not going to ask you on air how old he is, but sometimes they still think that they're young and they're not.
Oh yeah, we're open about that. I'll be 59 this year. He's going to be 61. So we're actually going for his birthday, which is July
Nice.
9th. Yeah,
Good for him. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited. It's a great trip. But anyway, okay, so back to all this media stuff. First of all, I know you've written some books. I was reading some of the description on the one book, which was hilarious. What happens when you put together an African, this and that? Like, there's a whole list of different people and characters for this one
All
book.
real people. All real people.
That's insane.
You wrote in the book. I bared this one. I bared my chest. You can just see it over my shoulder here.
Yeah. Tell me about that. What is?
Oh,
I didn't have a chance to read it, unfortunately.
Oh,
but
you won't, because it's 780 pages. This book it's an anthology. Alex and I did it together with, we co-hosted that book, or co-wrote that book, or co-authored, if you want to call it that,
Mm-hmm.
with 21 unstoppable women. And we came up with the most intrusive questions. And I thought people would slap us, about everything, about life, love, sex, every topic you can think of. And we said, this is a book for people who might be feeling the same way you did or not. That you can, if you can be really, really honest in this book and answer these questions, then people reading this will see, because you've got the lesbian, you've got the transgender, you've got just everybody from all the continents. Everybody's in this book. It's pretty crazy. And those answers will help people. They'll help people who are suffering or going through the same thing, that know that you went through that and you made it to the other side. And so we said, if you're going to do it, you have to be really, really honest, and you have to answer these questions. And everybody, you said, you back out before you start. That's okay. But these are the rules. And everybody did it. And so it was 21 unstoppable women bare their chest. And the book is called I Bared My Chest. It was very cool. Yeah, it's pretty neat. And so after the book was written, I had this idea. I said, Alex, what if we get them all now to read their chapter in their own voice, with their own accents, read their story that they wrote, because they're from all over the world. So you got Brazil, you got India, you got like Nigeria, you got everywhere. And all of the women read their story. So it's on Audible, and you can listen to it.
Okay,
And
I'm definitely downloading
It's
that.
a ginormous book. I mean, it's a lot of money. I wouldn't say, it's terrible that I go, don't get the book. It's too much money. But definitely, yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
No, but I love that, because
Yeah.
it's like, it's about people's stories and how they feel about things. And I love when people share like that, because then you validate so many people
Yes.
that are going through the same experience and aren't talking about it because they feel like they're weird or something. And the reality is that we have so much more in common than we give
100%.
credit for,
Yes.
Yes.
We are more alike than not.
Exactly.
And, it's all the human experience. And I was going to bring up something to you, because one of our kids came home on the weekend. He lives out west, and he flew home my kids had given me a portrait day. So all the family portrait. That's what I really wanted for many years. And so the photographer came, and there's 28 of us, my kids and grandkids. So it was a big, big, big day, Saturday.
Wow.
So he flew in, and he started talking about his live-in and his girlfriend. And he said, well, there was a little bit of time when I wasn't really sure what to do, because like in the beginning, we liked the same things, and now she doesn't like to do the same things with me anymore. And I go, yeah, but people grow, and it doesn't mean that you've grown apart. It just means that maybe she has different interests, but if you share the same values, I think, and if you still love each other, that's okay. I mean, I don't go for a walk in the evening with my husband anymore because my legs are killing me. But we still spend time together, like we'll do other things that I can do with him. Like it doesn't mean that we should be apart now because I can't go for a walk. You know what I mean? Sometimes I will, but I go to Pilates. He does other things. So, you want to come to Pilates with me? No, he doesn't. So, okay, that's cool. But you know what I'm saying? So as a relationship coach or a matchmaker, what would your advice be to somebody questioning the relationship because it's changed a little bit?
Well, the relationships will always change for everyone because we're always growing and changing. What I would say, though, is to focus on doing things that neither one of them have done before together, because what that does is that it reactivates, it creates arousal, because there's newness. I often hear a couple say that, oh, we just got bored with each other, we fell apart and all this. That just doesn't happen. You actively make that happen. So
Yeah.
take the opportunity to do things that you like. I've never been to France. I've been to Europe many times, never been to France. So I'm going to do something new with my husband, although he has been to France, but we're doing some new.
Good for you guys.
Yeah. And in fact, when you start dating someone, if you start doing new things together, that actually makes the bond faster. It's almost like a false falling in love with someone
Right.
quicker. But I would advise that. And then the things that you want to do that fall outside of what your significant other wants to do, go do it with your friends. I mean, the problem today is that people expect their significant other to be everything to them.
Exactly. That's what I said too. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's unfair. It's unfair. I have things that I love to do. My birthday was, last week, as you know.
Happy
And
belated.
thank you. And I asked my husband I wanted to do it for a long time. I wanted to learn how to weld, to do artistic welding, scrap metal welding. And for me, that's really exciting. Do you want to do it with me? No. Okay. I'm going to go do it because I don't care. Like, I don't need him to hold my hand to do everything.
Yeah.
We're both independent people. And that's one thing. When I was manifesting my partner, one thing was, I want someone who's independent, who's not going to rely, who needs me for everything, because I am an independent person and I do like to do things on my own, but I also like to do things together. And I think that was a really important thing. And I think when people are coming together, they should know about who they are. And like I think as a coach and as a coach yourself, what we value, who we are, you have to know that before you can go to anybody else.
Yeah.
And most people don't. They don't think about that.
Yeah, that's step one. And I believe people can learn about relationships while in a relationship. I don't think you have to be on your own to get better at relationship, because some coaches will say, well, don't date anybody until you've done the work. The work that I believe that needs to be done is getting to know yourself and understanding who you are and what you need, what your needs are, so then you can get that alignment. But I've learned so much about relationships with being with in a healthy relationship myself. And this is not my first husband. We've been together for 15 years, but we're so aligned with our core values and things like that, and we're very similar. I remember early on when we were dating, he took me to a class reunion. It wasn't his, just people he knew. And so we end up in this place and he's out there chit chatting with everybody. And I'm over here doing my thing. And at the end of the night, we came together and he's like, thank God you're not one of those people who has to be like, I had to like
hang on his arm.
I'm like, yeah, no, not me. Even though I'm an ambivert, I don't need to be like, I'm not an extrovert.
Right.
I think he's an extrovert. I need some alone time every so often. But if I'm out, I'm fine. I can mingle. I can be somewhere by myself. I've traveled everywhere. I've been to Shanghai by myself. I've been to Okinawa by myself. Like, I'll travel anywhere by myself and do anything alone.
Me too.
And enjoy it. It's not like it's a drudgery, but he's very much the same way. So we're very
that works.
Way,
yeah, that works.
I do want to ask you about your art, because I don't talk much about this myself, but when I was a kid, I got recruited by Parsons because I was an artist in high school.
Nice.
And then I never did anything with it. And where I live is so beautiful, and I always said, when I move and I have a great place, I'm going to start painting, and I never do it anyway. But tell me about your art, because I know you've done a lot of work in that area too.
I have, and I didn't start painting until I was in my 50s.
Really?
So it was something I wanted.
Have you ever felt called to help others find love? You might have the heart for matchmaking, but without the right training, turning that passion into a thriving business.
Okay, we're back. When I was a kid, I wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to write books, and I wanted to be an artist. I didn't do any of those things until later in life. And so that's another thing as a coach, when people go, what's my purpose in life? Oh, go back to when you're a kid. And these things will come out. So being an artist, I started painting in my 50s, and I have a real affinity for animals, and I love to paint animals, and especially dogs. I feel like I connect with them, and even those that have passed on. And so I like to paint those dogs for people who are missing them. And social impact is super important to me. So I thought I could use my painting as a way to give back to communities in the way of social impact. So if I sell a painting, $250 goes to cleft palate surgery with Mercy Ships, or it goes to VVF, which is vesicovagal, sorry, just went out of my head, fistulas. So that's really a horrible thing that happens. And surgery can look after it, but when it happens, it's usually in a country where they don't have a surgeon, and the young woman is thrown out of her home, out of her community, because she was to give birth, but she was too young. The birth canal is too small. The baby has to wait till it atrophies to release. While it's doing that, it's burning a hole between the rectum and the bladder, and she's leaking horrible stuff. And so this beautiful event that's supposed to happen with your husband, have a new baby, a new life come into your home, doesn't happen. And this big hole is left in you. And that can be surgically fixed easily, but it costs money. And so when a charity like Mercy Ships goes to an African country, they'll do that kind of surgery. And so I would give money for that too when I sell a painting.
So much.
And I got donkeys.
But, I just admire that so much. And it's so, again, very aligned to me. Like, I don't talk about it or publish it anywhere, but I am going to start putting something on the website. With my students, when they don't do their homework, they have to pledge a dollar amount. And at the end, we all donate money.
I love that.
And I love animals, of course, but I'm very partial also to human trafficking, which is such a problem. And, I just love having a business that also has a purpose and something, where you're giving back and doing something for society. Because it's just, for me, that's just living. That's part of it. And
I think you have to teach compassion, because a lot of families don't do it. And so I love the idea that they have to give $1. And, I just got a t-shirt because Native women are the most trafficked and killed. Mm-hmm. And so, it's horrible. So I bought a t-shirt, the money goes to help, find them and stop the trafficking. I think it's really important. Like in Canada, I think you have it in the US too, but in Canada, students have to complete 40 hours of public service before they can graduate. I think it should be more. Mm. But when I was in the government, I started a program because I didn't want them just to pick up garbage. I wanted them to have a really good volunteer experience in doing something. And so they could go to the police or the fire department or to different people who were doing really neat and interesting things that they could volunteer with and learn how to do other things, even Habitat for Humanity, learn how to build a house for somebody. It's not just about sending them out to pick up trash.
Yeah. And I think you're right. It's something you have to teach early on. I have he's soon to be 4-year-old grandson who's I'm obsessed with this little kid. And I'm definitely going to start teaching him about those things as well. He's such a good kid already, but you do have to instill that.
You do.
Because humans weren't born to be alone or to be on your own. We're pack animals. We need each other. And we need to help each other. So I think.
I'll just tell you about my pet project that I really want to do right now. Can I tell you really quick?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I've been thinking about it a lot because it really, really bothers me. There's a tent city near me. Mm. And I really, really hate that the homeless people have no place to go to a bathroom, because that's a human need. We all have to do that. And they're not allowed into restaurants because nobody wants them. And yet people get offended if they're going to the bathroom on the grass. Well, where are they supposed to do this? Mm. So I really think that we need to build washrooms for them. And even if we'll pay you to clean it, because everybody needs money to eat and drink. Instead of begging for money, they can clean this bathroom and so get dual purpose. They can go to work because they can shower, they can go to the bathroom. A lot of people are homeless that can still work, but they just can't afford an apartment or a home or a motel. So now they're living on a street. So you can't get a job if you smell and you don't have an address and but at least if you could put on clean clothes and go to the washroom, you could have an opportunity to get a job. So I think that we do a big disservice to people, and we look at them like they're scum, and they're human beings and they have the same functions that we have. And so I've been thinking about more and more and more, like every day for hours a day, I go, what can I build? What can I get? How can I make this happen? Because
I love
it's important to me.
That is so good, because you're right. And the people who end up homeless, I mean, how many, actors and actresses talk about having to live in a car, stuff like that? It's not a choice, people. It's something that happens.
So easily it could
Whatever's
happen.
right, so easy. And so many people live paycheck to paycheck. And when you least expect it, something terrible like that could happen. And to be able to have that compassion coming from somewhere, I think that's a great project. I think
Yeah,
that's something that maybe we need to talk about.
I think so. I
You.
think it's important. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for letting me say that. And yeah, I just really need to get that off my chest because
I think
I'm not sure what the answer is yet. I know that there was in California, Lava May, which has since gone under. She converted city buses that were no longer being used into stations that would go have a route, and then that route would have showers and washing machines, and they would shave them and do their beards and whatever. That's fantastic. I mean, I think it's the greatest thing. But that was one city many years ago, and today I'm looking at these tent cities that are popping up everywhere. And
everywhere.
going, where are they supposed to? I couldn't even imagine if I couldn't have a shower a day.
I
Think
know.
about a week from now and the smell, and just, you don't want to live like an
No.
animal. You're not an animal.
And
These
then
people
you
aren't
get
animals.
treated that way when you're out in public too, which is so sad. When it's funny because when we went to Italy a couple of years ago, I give money to people and I give food and whatever, and my husband's like, I got suckered because there was like this gypsy in Rome, and he followed her. He just had a feeling like she was like this old lady dressed in black, and
Yeah,
followed her in. She went in the bathroom, came back out, and she was a young girl, and she was just begging for money.
yeah.
And but I'm like, you know what? I don't care if
We had
I.
that same person in Toronto. She went to her condo, yeah, and her Ferrari. Yeah, but yeah, I get you. I get you. I mean, it's hard to distinguish, but are you going to not give because one bad person?
Exactly. That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, let's take a quick break so we can go to a commercial. I'll be right
Have you ever felt called to help others find love? You might have the heart for matchmaking, but without the right training, turning that passion into a thriving business can feel impossible. Most matchmaking courses give you outdated theories and a certificate, but no real world strategy to build a successful business. That's where Love Pro Mastermind Academy is different. Our live Done With You training goes beyond theory, helping you develop matchmaking expertise, implement sales and marketing strategies, and master the art of client success. With expert led instruction, accountability, and a community of like minded professionals, you'll learn how to identify your niche, attract high quality clients, create a seamless matchmaking process, grow a sustainable, profitable business. With over a decade of experience, we don't just train matchmakers, we create leaders in the industry. Are you ready to become a LPMA certified matchmaker and build a business that changes lives? Apply today at lovepromastermind.com.
So, Frankie, what are your thoughts about matchmaking?
I think it's really interesting, and I've been thinking about it quite a bit because a lot of people do have a problem meeting the right people. One of the things I thought was that if you have, let me back up. Sorry, I think that like attracts like, and so I think that there's a lot of people who they're here and they're expecting somebody to walk in from here, and they don't think that they have to do the work to get up to here to match this person, i.e. maybe take a course, educate yourself, comb your hair, take a bath, just do some basic hygiene that this other person that you really want could walk in on. And I think that if you really want that, then you have to equal yourself to that other person that you're looking for. So as a matchmaker, like I've never done matchmaking, but I have done relationship coaching. And so I'm thinking that if I can tell you who I want, and maybe you don't even want to know who I want. Maybe you just look at me and go, I know who you want. I don't know. Do you know who I want? But I manifested my husband. And the first time I did a couple of manifestations, I realized at the end of it, I left out some important pieces. And so the next time I did it, I got it right. And he's exactly who I was looking for. And it had nothing to do with looks and everything to do with how I wanted to feel in a relationship. Mm-hmm. How did I want to feel?
I love it. I'm a big manifester, and I did a vision board. I love to do vision boards. In fact, I haven't done a vision board in a while. I'm overdue. And I did manifest my husband because he's exactly what I wanted. And I'm so happy that I actually put the thought into it.
Me too.
But what I love about matchmaking is, at least the way that I did it when I was a matchmaker, it was a very holistic approach. I never took clients that weren't coachable, because it's not just being an order taker. Like, oh yes, who would you like? Would you like some fries with that? No, that's just not the way it works.
6 foot, handsome.
Right. Yeah, the usual suspects. And then women, the funny part is it's mostly women who date, like hypergamy is a big thing for women. They want to date men who are more, who make more money, who are on a better status, blah, 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 which is becoming less and less an opportunity for women, because more women are getting a college education.
Right.
More women are controlling money, either through inheritance or through their education or their jobs and everything else. And life has changed. Things have shifted. People are having a really hard time connecting. And that's why I am such a believer in good matchmaking, not just any matchmaking, but good matchmaking to help bring people together, because it is so needed. Even the folks that from my generation have lost the ability to learn how to connect, because they're so hidden behind a computer, or they're so used to being on an app that they don't even know how to approach someone. And we've lost a lot of the opportunities to congregate too. Like
communicate.
Right?
Texting is not communicating. Get on a phone, at least call. Like when I did the online dating thing, and I was coaching people who were doing dating online, I said, you get to reach out and then
meet us.
First or second interaction, get on the phone. Mm-hmm. If you get the feeling from being on the phone, then don't meet. But if you get okay, then go and meet as soon as possible. Like, why waste your time? You can have this whole love thing made up in your head that doesn't even exist. I have to hear them. I have to talk to them. They have to be intelligent for me. Like, intelligence is everything. I don't care how much money they make, but just be on the same brain level as me.
Yeah, I'm a sapiosexual. Like, I don't care how beautiful and how good you smell, because that's important too.
Yeah,
but if you're not smart, we're not going anywhere. I just can't do it.
I met them I used to meet them at Indigo. I guess you have Indigo in the U.S., right?
Is that like a coffee place?
Barnes and Noble, at the bookstore with the coffee place. I would always meet my dates there because I wanted to walk around. What did you read? What do you like here?
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good. And also, it's really important what you said before, because there's actual science behind the fact that if you wait too long to meet someone, then the chances are you're going to be disappointed. And they say before 2 weeks is ideal. Mm-hmm. And it's true. Why are you wasting time? People call it online dating. No, it's the catalog of singles where you select someone and then you take it offline. That's the goal.
Yeah.
The problem is too many people are spending time online and
they stay there
forever. Like I had actually a really smart, wonderful woman who was a widow. She was on my podcast not that long ago. She met someone because she was a widow. I don't think she was really ready to meet someone right away. So they were corresponding. And she gave away over $1 million to this person who turned out to be a romance scam from Nigeria. And this is becoming more and more prevalent.
It is very prevalent.
The more time you spend online, and now we've incorporated the video call. So it's not just a phone call, but you also get to see them before you get all dialed up to go meet someone and, spend all this time, energy, and money.
But there's still something in when you smell somebody.
Yes.
In that, then you don't get over this. Like, you might get on here and go, oh, I don't like how he looks. But you don't know. There's a chemistry when you meet. There's something there that's a little it's not always about that. And so, like, when I first met my husband, when I first saw him, I'm like, no. It was like, my daughter was like, get out there and go go on a date with him. And I did. And I'm glad I did, because he's fantastic. I mean, we're 17 years into, so it's great. But sometimes, like, yeah. And I did date a widower, a couple of dates with him. But, it's really hard to date a widower because he had a shrine to his wife. Now, when she was alive, I'm sure she wasn't sliced bread, but when she passed away, she was everything. And so it's very hard to go to somebody's home and be the next woman, and there's this other woman everywhere, on all the walls, kind of thing.
That's true.
It was hard. It was hard.
My husband lost his first wife to a rare cancer. And so with this accident that I had, I mean, he was just beside himself. I mean, he's had so much loss in his life. His father died when he was 9. His first girlfriend died in a car accident. His first wife died of a rare cancer. And
don't jump off that cliff, Arlene.
I make a joke of everything. I'm like, I knew I married that black widow, but like he's a basket case, and I'm like making a joke out of it because you got a lot in life,
You do.
But we got through it, and people are like, how did you do it? How did you deal with him having a late wife and all that? And I said, I became friends with her. Yeah. I admire her. She was amazing. She was a journalist. She was a beautiful human being, and she's not around, so she's not competition for me. But I admire all the stuff that she was able to accomplish, and now he goes to talk about her, and he says my name by mistake. Like it used to be the other way. So that happens, and my daughter's dad passed away also, so now we even have that in common. But Frankie, I can talk to you forever. But before we go, I want to hear a little bit about the other project that you have. What is it? The Good
Radio? The Good Radio Network? Yeah, yes. The Good Radio Network. I was a podcaster since like 2007. Mm-hmm. And I think it might have been around 2014. Can't remember, but I think it was around 2014. I was done. I was like bored. I'd had, relationship show. I had spiritual show. I had the techie show. I had this show, that show, whatever. I tried a Frankie Johnny music show. I had a gazillion different shows, and now I'm bored. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm going to take a break, and I'm just going to meditate. And if I'm meant to do it again, I'll do it. If not, okay. So I kind of meditated, and I got this download, and the universe said, okay, I want you to find somebody, one person even, who's changing the world. And it doesn't have to be in a big way. And I went, okay. So the idea came, the Good Radio Network. And it was going to be, I was going to help people who were into social impact that couldn't afford ads, or I was going to just tell people stories. And so whenever I saw a story on the news, didn't matter where it was in the world, I would just call that person and say, hey, I just saw your, would you like to come on my show? And invariably people always said yes. And that's the funny thing, that people think, oh, I'm not big enough. They don't know who I am. They'll never come on my show. I've had judges. I've had neurosurgeons. I've had just every walks of life come on the show, and they've had a great time. So I don't think you stop yourself from inviting. You never know what people are going to say. And a lot of times people want to do stuff. When I taught coaching, I was always surprised that the neurosurgeon wanted to be a coach. I thought, why would you want to do coaching? Like, you've got this amazing career. But they did. So you can't put yourself in somebody else's head and, put yourself down that way. Anyway, where was I? Arlene, I'm getting old.
So you still have that project going?
Oh, yeah. So the Good Radio Network. The Good Radio is still definitely going. And I've got 2 flagship shows. One is Mission Unstoppable, and the other is Frankie Sense and More. Mm-hmm. And they're a little bit different. The Unstoppable is people who've been unstoppable in their lives. And on Frankie Sense, I just say whatever goes. So they could be the authors. They could be, and both shows are authors, but musicians or just anybody who wants to come out and chat. And I find them interesting. Yeah.
You're so unstoppable and so amazing. We need to get together and just chit chat for hours.
The other reason I started it was we were at the movie theater, and I saw the United Nations Global Goals, and it blew me away. I'm like, oh my God, this is like the most amazing thing. For those who don't know what they are, there's 17 goals that by 2030, every country in the world except for one agreed that they would help, stop homelessness or help stop hunger, help women equality, just all of this stuff. So I was just like so surprised and so amazed at it. I go, okay, I'm starting this show, and we're going to do this, and it's still going.
I love it. What else are you working on?
Oh boy. What else am I working on? G-Woman has all of my attention at the moment. And Rent the Believer. We haven't touched on Rent the Believer. Rent the Believer is my coaching site where I think that I want people, entrepreneurs who have really big dreams, don't know how to get them, to come to me, and we turn them into unstoppable outcomes. I think that a lot of times entrepreneurs give their idea to a significant other who doesn't understand about being an entrepreneur, who doesn't understand about risk taking, and they just kill that dream before it ever has a chance to get off the ground. So I tell people, don't tell anybody about it. Come and tell me about it. I'll hold that faith for you until I can hand it back to you and you feel really confident that you can make this go. Because I love being an entrepreneur. I llove birthing companies. I don't like running companies. That's boring. It's like, I like the big picture. I like the dress, but don't make me sew the beads on, because I can't.
I love that. I love that. I'm very similar. I have a startup right now I have a partner in Madrid who's an attorney, and well, he's a strategic partner, not like a real business partner, but the idea is to bring ethics and compliance to the industry. And so it's the International Matchmaking Compliance Board. And essentially, we're helping matchmakers understand the laws that impact their business and making sure that they're compliant so they don't end up in court. And so that the daters feel comfortable hiring someone knowing that these people are doing the right thing by them. So I'm really excited about that. We should talk more about that maybe.
We'll talk about that on my show.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. But anyway, before we go, I would love to know, how can people reach you? And, is there anything that
You know what? My personal website is down at the moment. And I'll tell you why. Because my domain name lapsed. The company that I was with did not send me an email. And somebody bought it. I go, how could somebody buy Unstoppable Frankie Picasso? Like, it's not even their name. Like, why would you do that to me?
They were probably scoping it out. Ugh.
So Alex said, okay, she just bought me frankiepicasso.com and I got to rebuild it again. So that's it. But the Good Radio Network, you can reach me over there, but you can just reach me at frankiepicasso9@gmail.com or the Good Radio Network @gmail.com or wherever. G-Woman, everywhere. I'm everywhere. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Just look for Unstoppable Frankie. You'll find me.
Frankie, thank you so much. I so admire you, and I'm so excited that we've met each other.
Me
We're
too.
spending time together, and we'll keep talking offline. And I'll definitely be on your show. I think I was in the hospital.
Yeah. Going, can't come on, I've got a helicopter. Like, oh
when
my
I was
God.
in the hospital, I was like, "Where's my phone? Where's my
Good
phone?"
excuse. I haven't had that one yet.
Thank you so much, Frankie.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.